Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. Glad to have you spend a few minutes of your day with me. The saga with Representative Eric Swalwell picked up some steam yesterday. As it appears, no one is coming to his defense. Even his own party appears ready to cut their losses. Swalwell announced he plans to resign in an effort to keep the House from expelling him. We have the latest. President Trump called some heat over a meme that he posted that appeared to show him acting as possibly Jesus, healing the sick. The president and his staff say that was not the intent, but criticism from both sides of the aisle appeared to convince him to delete the post yesterday. South Carolina GOP Chairman Drew McKissick is with us today to discuss the sudden withdrawal of U.S. Senate candidate Paul Dans in South Carolina, the next gubernatorial debate, and how accurate betting sites are in predicting a winning candidate. Also, candidates in the South Carolina governor's race have filed their quarterly financial disclosures, and we have the full report on who's leading the fundraising race.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
We first learned that Representative Eric Swalwell is dropping his bid for the California governor's office. Jared Halper with Fox News had the story.
A day after California Democrat Eric Swalwell suspended his campaign for governor of California, the House Ethics Committee announced it will investigate sexual misconduct allegations against the congressman. He's accused of sexually assaulting a woman who worked in his office. Swalwell says he will fight the serious false allegations that have been made. Florida Republican Anna Paulina Luna is introducing a resolution to expel Swalwell, the most serious punishment the House can take against a member. Swalwell has so far resisted calls to resign from the House. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Now, it does appear that Representative Swalwell is planning to resign from Congress following major accusations of sexual assault involving multiple women, amid a surge of lawmakers announcing support for efforts to expel him from the Congress. Representative Swalwell said in the statement, "I'm aware of efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote against me and other members. Expelling anyone in Congress without due process within days of an allegation being made is wrong. But it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. Therefore, I plan to resign my seat in Congress." He didn't give any details of when that's going to happen. There's speculation that he wants to make some preparation for staffers in his D.C. office and to try to get things settled before he steps down. He said he plans to work with staff in the coming days to ensure they're able to continue serving California's 14th congressional district. Now, this came about as Swalwell is under investigation by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, led by Alvin Bragg, in connection with allegations that he sexually assaulted a former staffer following a 2024 gala in New York City. The former employee alleged that she met the congressman for drinks around 11:30 p.m. on April 25th, 2024. This according to a report first published Friday by the San Francisco Chronicle. According to the local outlet, the former employee said she could only recall fragments of the night, but remembered telling Swalwell no. She ultimately told a friend 3 days later that she believed she had been sexually assaulted. She further claimed that she remained silent for years out of fear of retaliation, but said she believes the public has a right to transparency as the California primary approaches in June. Mr. Swalwell eventually announced the suspension of his California gubernatorial campaign on Sunday. According to the Chronicle, the former employee said, "I have no skin in the game of who becomes governor of California, but I feel people have a right to know whether the person who leads a state that is a safe haven for so many women actually treats women with dignity and will protect their rights." She said, "No one protected me from him, so I have to protect the other young women like me who aspire to work in this field and he could prey upon." The investigation comes as the House Ethics Committee announced Monday also that it is opening a probe into the allegations that Swalwell assaulted the employee, who, of course, was working under his supervision in a separate sexual misconduct case. Representative Anna Paula Luna from Florida said there may be enough support in the House to expel Swalwell following these bombshell accusations. Over the weekend, lawmakers from both parties have publicly backed efforts to remove Swalwell from the office. According to the reports, Representative Teresa Fernandez, a Democrat from New Mexico, Addison McDowell from North Carolina, Republican, Byron Donalds, Republican, Florida, Nancy Mace, Republican, South Carolina, Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, Jared Huffman, Democrat from California, and Mike Lawler, Republican from New York, all supporting the effort to remove him from office. Ms. Luna was among the first political figures to announce she would file a motion to expel Swalwell from Congress, alleging the, quote, predator violated House rules. She said on a post, an X post over the weekend, "I am filing a motion to expel Eric Swalwell from Congress." Fernandez quickly followed with a statement publicly backing the resolution, which also says that Representative Tony Gonzalez should also face expulsion over similar sexual misconduct allegations. She said in a post, "Representatives Gonzalez and Swalwell are not fit to serve. They must resign. If they do not, I will vote to expel them." The Congresswoman added that she believes the votes are there to expel the two representatives, according to the Hill. Expulsion requires a 2/3 vote of the House, while a simple majority is sufficient to table or refer the matter to committee. Now, if they're saying that they believe the votes are there, and again, it takes a 2/3 vote, that's a pretty steep hill to climb. And if you have a 2/3 of the House to agree on anything, that's a pretty big victory. Former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, delivered a scathing rebuke of Mr. Swalwell, alleging that concerns about his behavior have circulated on Capitol Hill for years. And we've been hearing that report too, that this shouldn't be a surprise, that people have been whispering about it for a long, long time, that Swalwell took advantage of young women. McCarthy said on ABC this week, "Every member in Congress knows not to let any young staffer get around Swalwell. It's not a secret there," he said. "He was the leading candidate for governor. He probably could have won the primary and gotten there, but this all came forward, and these young women deserve justice." Now, it's good that it's coming out, if in fact it's true, but I got to pause here for a minute and think about what Kevin McCarthy is saying. If this was so well known among U.S. members of the House of Representatives, why has this not come forward before now? Why have they been quiet about this? Why has Eric Swalwell not been brought to the carpet long before now? If this has been known for years, how many other young women has he potentially assaulted in these subsequent years when he could have been stopped years ago? Former Speaker McCarthy added that he attempted to strip Swalwell of influential roles after receiving an FBI briefing alleging that the California Democrat had ties to a suspected Chinese intelligence operative linked to efforts to bolster his 2014 re-election campaign. McCarthy said, "I tried to get rid of Swalwell 6-8 years ago when I got the briefing, when I became leader with the FBI. And let me just say this, as someone who knows at least one of the victims that have come forward, I'm very concerned." We all should be concerned. But again, how did this happen? And why could he not get the support? He was Speaker of the House at some point in time. How could he not get the support to go ahead and throw Swalwell out of the House back then? Wow. But I guess this is how politics works, huh? This is how our leaders in Washington get along. Are they just looking the other way? Is it professional courtesy? What is it? What would allow a member of Congress like Swalwell to continue to prey on young women when people knew he was doing it? Are they not all complicit? Am I missing something here? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to mypillow.com and take advantage of all the great deals Michael and Dale has for you. For example, turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in USA MyPillow mattress topper. You can save $100 using my name. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or a 6-pack towel set for only $39.98. Again, use promo code Joey at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4059. Have your credit card ready. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free when you use promo code Joey. You don't have a weight problem. You have a body that's in survival mode, and no medication, crash diet, or app is going to fix that. Joey Hudson here, Ozempic, Wegovy. These GLP-1 drugs are exploding in popularity, and for some, they're a useful tool, but they don't address why your body started storing fat in the first place. At PhD Weight Loss, they treat the unwanted weight as a symptom, a signal that your metabolism, hormones, and stress response need some attention. When they correct those, the weight comes off naturally, and more importantly, it stays off. Because they're not just helping you lose weight, they're helping you increase health span and extend longevity. Right now, call PhD Weight Loss and mention Joey Hudson. You'll get 2 weeks free in the program, and they'll pay for your food. That's a $1,500 value completely free. Call 864-644-1900. Do it right now. Mention Joey Hudson. Again, that's 864-644-1900 or go to myphdweightloss.com. No more guessing, no more short-term fixes, just a smarter way forward. All right, let's talk about something that lit up the internet over the weekend. And depending on where you land, it either made you shake your head or just shrug and move on. President Donald Trump posted an AI-generated image that quickly went viral. The image showed him, some say, portraying himself as Jesus Christ, healing a sick man, surrounded by patriotic symbols. The American flag, a bald eagle, even the Statue of Liberty in the background. Now, as you might expect, that did not sit quietly online. And here's what makes this story interesting. This wasn't just the usual left versus right outrage cycle. The reaction came from both sides of the aisle, and even from some of Trump's own supporters. Some folks looked at the image, said, look, this is symbolic. They interpreted it as a kind of a metaphor, the idea of healing the nation, restoring America, that kind of messaging that we've heard in political rhetoric for years, and especially with President Trump, kind of straightening out our country, healing our country. Others suggested it was simply meant to troll critics, especially after President Trump had taken shots at Pope Leo in a separate post, calling him weak on crime and foreign policy. And let's be honest, if you followed Donald Trump's communication style over the years, you know he's no stranger to provocative posts designed to get a reaction. And boy, did this get the reaction. For some people, this was just another example of that. But here's where it gets real. A number of conservative voices, people who typically support President Trump, came out strongly against it. Commentators like Riley Gaines, who questioned why it was posted at all, suggesting that a little humility might go a long way. Others didn't mince words. Some called it blasphemous. Some said it crossed a line that shouldn't be crossed, no matter who you are or what your intentions might be. You had voices saying, God shall not be mocked. Faith is not a prop. There's only one Lord and Savior. And for many Christians, that's not political. That's deeply personal. It's their belief. The concern wasn't about policy or elections. It was about respect for something very sacred. Now, on the other side, critics in the media and on the left also jumped in, but for somewhat different reasons. Figures like Sink Urigar questioned whether Trump understood the religious implications or whether the post was intentionally provocative. Others asked whether this reflected something deeper, whether it was satire, strategy, or something else entirely. And of course, in today's political climate, some reactions went even further, throwing around terms like mental health episode or suggesting it showed an inflated sense of self. But not everyone was outraged. Some people, on both sides again, looked at the whole thing and said, are we really doing this again? One commentator joked that visions of Trump as Jesus, the meme, have been floating around Facebook for years. In other words, this isn't new. It's just newly viral. And that raises a fair question. Is this actually a serious issue, or just another internet moment that gets amplified because of who posted it? And I think this is where the conversation really matters, because underneath all the noise, there's a deeper issue. Where is the line between political messaging and religious imagery? Where does something cross from satire to symbolism into something people genuinely find offensive? And in a culture where memes drive so much of the conversation, are we sometimes reacting faster than we're thinking? For people of faith, especially Christians, images like this can feel deeply inappropriate, regardless of the intent. For others, it may just look like another exaggerated political meme in a long line of them. So let me bring this to you, because this is where it gets real. When you saw that image or you hear about it, did it bother you? Did it feel disrespectful? Or did you look at it and think, this isn't that serious? I'd love to hear from you. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Did it offend you? Because I'll tell you something, this isn't just about one post. It's about how we navigate faith, politics, and culture in a world where everything is instant, amplified, and often taken to extremes. At the end of the day, people are going to interpret things differently. Some see symbolism. Some see satire. Some see something offensive. And maybe the real takeaway here is this. In a divided country, even a single image, just one post, can reveal just how differently we all see the world. And maybe, just maybe, that's the bigger story here. But I don't think it's going to be quite that easy for the president. Now, the good news is, and I'd love to get your comments on this. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. The president did ultimately yesterday decide to take the post off of Truth Social. He deleted it. And as you probably know, that is a rarity. I don't know that I've ever known him to take something down once he puts it up. So my question to you today, and I've gotten a lot of comments from you. A lot of you text me, email me. You have commented on my social sites, Facebook, and my YouTube. I did a YouTube segment about this. So if you haven't joined me on YouTube, go to YouTube, search for Joey Hudson, and be sure and subscribe to my channel. But take a listen. I kind of break it down for you, and be sure and like and comment on that video. But the president did take it down. Was that the right thing to do? Should it have never gone up to begin with? That's what I want your feedback on, because, again, a lot of you have written me. You've made comments, and you've said, I love the president. I've voted for him 3 times now. I'll do anything for him, but he crossed the line this time. He should not have ever posted it. Thank you for taking it down, but he shouldn't have never put that out there, because, as you know, once you post something, you can take it down on Truth Social, as he did, but it's always going to be out there. Democrats, the far left, they're circulating it, and with all their comments and all their commentary, we're never going to be able to get past this. They're all going to say, yeah, he took it down, but after he got a lot of pressure, he didn't want to take it down. He meant it. Some argue that he views himself equal to Jesus Christ. I don't think he does. I really believe that when he put it up, and look, I don't know what their process is. I don't know who designed it. I think it's pretty safe to say that President Trump didn't design it. He probably had a staffer to step up, and he probably described what he thought it should look like. And some staffer thought they were doing a great job, and they designed it. I think the overall problem here, though, is that President Trump does not have anybody in his inner circle who can say, Mr. President, that is in poor taste. Mr. President, you should not post that. I just don't think he has that person in there. Am I wrong? Now, Yesterday wasn't a total loss, though. He had some great PR. Have you seen the video of the DoorDash delivery driver showing up at the Oval Office as if she's making a delivery from McDonald's? It is classic Trump. A DoorDash delivery driver praised the president, saying that his no tax on tips policy helped her family immensely and delivered more than $11,000 in savings ahead of tax day. The story is Sharon Simmons. She met President Trump during a delivery to the White House. Now, again, it was staged. I tried to get the audio for you, but it was just so noisy you couldn't hear it. Again, go online. Maybe I'll share the video on my social. Go to Facebook and find me. But she thanked the president directly, telling him that it had made a significant difference for her household. She said, quote, "It has helped my family out immensely, and I definitely appreciate it," referring to the administration's push to eliminate taxes on tips. Ms. Simmons, who has worked as a full-time DoorDash driver since 2021, said tips make up a major portion of her income. She told the president she saved more than $11,000 under the policy, calling the amount very surprising when asked if the total exceeded her expectations. Now, it's kind of early in the tax season, but a lot of people are reporting those bigger refunds, just as the president had promised. Have you filed yours yet, and have you gotten a bigger refund than you expected? Of course, the president used that moment to highlight his broader tax agenda, highlighting the fact that Simmons' experience as an example of what he described as widespread relief for all working Americans. The No Tax on Tips initiative is part of a broader tax package that the administration says is aimed at boosting take-home pay for service industry workers and others who rely on variable income. It was part of the big, beautiful bill. According to the White House, millions of Americans have already benefited from the provision, with average deductions reaching into the thousands of dollars. But again, I want to hear from you. If you filed your return, or if you will be in the next couple of days, did you get a bigger than normal refund? Love to hear from you. Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. As we start the home stretch for the gubernatorial race in the Palmetto State, we're getting a bit of a glimpse of just how those campaigns are going, because quite often you can look at the dollars in their campaign war chest and know how successful they could potentially be. Republicans Alan Wilson, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Abbott remain atop the fundraising picture in this nominating contest for governor, each reporting more than $1 million raised as they enter the closing months towards the June 9th primary. Wilson, the Attorney General, with fewer than 60 days until the election, retains a sizable cash advantage over his opponents, with his closest in the race, United States Congressman Ralph Norman, largely relying on his own cash to finance his candidacy. Ralph Norman, the congressman from the 5th Congressional District, very successful developer, has said, he's made it very clear that he will be spending some of his own money in his race. Now, according to campaign finance reports, they were filed with the South Carolina Ethics Commission on April the 10th, Mr. Wilson reported raising about $20,000 more than Ms. Abbott in the first quarter of 2026, showing the two remaining neck and neck in donor support as their candidacy reached the closeout stage of this campaign. Both camps are celebrating the success of raising the money. Mr. Wilson, in a statement, said he was humbled by the outpouring of support, adding that we'll keep pushing until the end. Ms. Abbott's spokesperson, Matthew Goins, in a statement to the press earlier, wrote that their campaign's, quote, consistent fundraising dominance demonstrated confidence they would continue the conservative success of the McMaster-Abbott administration. Now, if you look at this and from a fundraising perspective, other candidates did not really even come close to Mr. Wilson and Ms. Abbott. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, for example, who has relied heavily on a national network of small donors, reported raising about $564,000 last quarter, though she does have right at $800,000 in cash on hand. Congressman Norman, who has put reportedly $1.5 million of his own cash into the campaign, raised $314,000 from donors last quarter, with an additional $500,000 investment from his own pocket. He currently has approximately as much in his savings as he has personally loaned the campaign. Activist Ron Reddy, who came in late to the race, a millionaire supposedly, has self-funded his campaign. He says he's taking no donations. He reported no money raised, but $2 million invested in his candidacy since entering the race in March. Josh Kimbrell, a Republican state senator in Spartanburg, has not yet filed a campaign finance report. He has until April 15th to file, according to the South Carolina Ethics Commission. So, if you look at a breakdown, Mr. Wilson raised just over $1 million. He has spent about $570,000 cash on hand, $1,800,000. Ralph Norman raised just over $300,000, spent just over $1 million, cash on hand $1,500,000. Pamela Evett raised just over $1 million, spent $1.1 million, cash on hand $931,000. Ms. Mace raised just over $500,000, has spent $600,000, cash on hand $799,000. Ron Reddy, $2 million. He spent $1,400,000. Of that $2 million, he has about $580,000 in there, and no numbers for Josh Kimbrell as of today. Ms. Evett was the second leading fundraiser in the race last quarter, and she remains the strongest fundraiser overall, including a $300,000 loan made to her campaign from her personal funds. She's raised $3.7 million total during this election campaign. Mr. Wilson has raised a total of $2.87 million during the campaign too. She also maintained pace with Wilson without yet naming a running mate, which some supporters cited as a positive as Wilson campaigns alongside his prospective lieutenant governor pick, Florence Senator Mike Rickenbach. So it's going to get interesting. There other candidates say that they found ways to stretch their dollars. Mr. Norman, for example, has utilized his congressional office to engage in activities known as his franking privileges, which allow members of Congress to utilize taxpayer funds to communicate about their legislative activities with their constituents via newsletters, radio advertisements, television commercials within their districts. Some people have criticized both Mr. Norman and Ms. Mace. Ms. Mace has engaged similar activities like robocalls, which are permissible under law according to documents submitted to the House clerk earlier this year. Again, some critics argue that recent uses of Norman's franking privilege might have tested those boundaries. Representative Norman has made opposition to state legislator pay raises a cornerstone of his campaign. In February, he introduced legislation in Congress opposing increasing members of Congress's pay. In March, he then used franking money to purchase television commercials promoting the bill alongside his own likeness, the words "no pay raises for politicians" on the screen. Some of the state legislators whom he's been very critical of are calling foul, saying that he's using federal dollars, franking privileges, to talk about his accomplishments in the U.S. House of Representatives during a gubernatorial campaign. Ultimately, it will be you that gets to decide. Now, one other quick thing on the governor's race. I told you at the end of filing that a seventh Republican had joined the race in the last hour of filing. Nobody had ever heard of her. Jacqueline DuBose is her name. She's the owner of a Hartsville cleaning company and drives a bus for the Darlington County School District. She's 61 years old, mother of 4 adult children. She said her campaign slogan is "Keeping South Carolina Out of the Red," which refers to keeping the red Republican-controlled state out of debt, she says. She wants to do that, she said, by getting people back to work. Ms. DuBose officially launched her bid when she turned in her paperwork March 30th with just an hour left in the 2-week filing period. She expected to jump in a few months earlier, she said, but had to wrap up some legal work on her late mother's estate, so she joined the campaign late in the game. As we just talked about, most of her competitors have been campaigning since last year. They've raised millions of dollars. We don't know what kind of money she has, as she hasn't filed any type of reports yet. She says that she hasn't raised any money. So she doesn't have a campaign website yet. She doesn't have anything, basically. She does say that she hopes for media interviews to boost her name recognition, and she plans to set up booths at spring festivals around the state to talk to people about her platform. I would say it's going to be a pretty tough race for this lady to not have any money and joining this late in the game. But, hey, that's what's so great. She has run for public office before. She ran unsuccessfully in 2022 for a seat on the Darlington County School Board. Regardless of the outcome of the governor's race, she said her goal is to share her message that every single person has a purpose. Look, I can't argue with her with that, because we do all have a purpose. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Joining us on our guest line, Drew McKissick, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Doing well this Monday morning. How are you?
I am wonderful, ready to start another week. All right, so we had some news in the U.S. Senate race this past weekend. On Friday, Paul Dans announced that he would be ending his campaign to unseat Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, Mr. Dan says he chose Friday because it was the last day he could leave the race and have his name removed from the ballot. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, that is the last day. You had to do that by 5 p.m. Let the State Election Commission know that you wanted to drop out, and I presume get your, $5,000 or $10,000 plus filing fee back, which I assume he's asked them for that back. That leaves us with 6 candidates in the race, so still obviously a very, very divided field. You're looking at 2 months to go for people to try to get enough name recognition to get people to consider them in a primary. And that's a tall order in a statewide race, obviously, in any race, but especially in a statewide race, and obviously costs a lot of money. It'd be interesting to see how much any candidates have raised in terms of their finance reports whenever they come out. I have not seen those yet. Maybe he didn't have very much success raising money. I'm not sure. I really haven't heard. But obviously financial considerations are a big thing in a race like that.
Yeah.
We've seen, obviously, in the governor's race, we had the finance reports come out several days ago, and we see the money being raised there and spent there. Had several candidates raise upwards of a little over $1 million. Then we saw what their cash on hand is for the sprint going forward. It's a tall order again in a statewide race where you don't have a lot of name recognition to be able to buy it, essentially.
Right.
Because most of the time that means TV. And TV is expensive, so if you don't already have a track record as an elected official where folks might know your name, it becomes more difficult. That's why you see a lot of self-funders will put a lot of money on TV and so forth to try to drive up their name recognition. But I suspect maybe in terms of Mr. Dan's, it was probably a financial consideration.
Yeah. It was interesting because I moderated a forum for the Oconee County Republican women on Thursday. Mr. Dan's was their guest. And so I spent some time talking with him, asking him questions, spent some time having lunch with him as we were starting the program. And I was completely surprised because on Thursday, he seemed to be all systems go. And then suddenly Friday, he dropped out.
You mean it could be possible sometimes that a candidate or a politician doesn't let you know everything that they're thinking? Is that what you're saying?
That's it. That's it.
Sometimes that happens. I mean, it could be he was in deep consideration about it, and it could be just when he found out that Friday at 5 o'clock was his last chance to make this decision. That kind of might have hurried his decision long, as far as I know. We had a couple of other candidates drop out down at the lower levels, state house level and other things. But I think maybe all told, it might be 4 or so who tried to, who filed to take their name off the ballot out of 464, I believe, or originally 5.
Right. Drew McKissick is my guest today. Now, you mentioned the finance reports in the governor's race. Any surprises there?
Not really in terms of big surprises. I mean, we saw, I believe, Mr. Reddy loaned himself $2 million. I think Congressman Norman has loaned himself, I want to say it was $1 million. And, then you had the cash on hand numbers. I think, first off, I think Attorney General Wilson and Lieutenant Governor Evatt both raised over $1 million over the course of the last quarter. Attorney General, though, has, I think, 1.8 on hand, which is the most out of any of the candidates. And then I believe it's Ralph, and then Mr. Reddy, and I believe Lieutenant Governor from there, and then Josh Kimbrell. Again, you got a 60-day sprint in the primary, but then let's not forget, you got a runoff. I mean, there's no way in my mind we're getting through a governor's race here without a runoff.
Yeah.
And, that's a 2-week sprint. It becomes very expensive. And, so how many of these candidates are looking at the money that they have on hand and trying to hold it and, a good bit thinking that, well, I want to have the money for the runoff and let's see what the polls look like leading up to the primary. I suspect you'll have a good bit of that going on. But, then the wild card is always folks who, fund themselves and, how much more of their own money are they willing to put into the race? And we're going to find out here in the next couple of months.
Yeah, interesting. I ran across an article over the weekend. It was talking about the betting sites and particularly in the governor's race. Have you followed any of that? That people are actually betting on who's going to win the governor's race? And of course, and some of the candidates are citing those as if they're polls.
Yeah, I mean, it's this new, sort of world we're in now with what they call predictive markets, where these, market makers, as they refer to themselves, will put a question out there. Who's going to win a particular race, or who's going to win on American Idol? Does it have any unlimited number of questions that are out there, and people then will, buy or sell one side of the question or the other. I think usually in terms of dollar per vote or something along those lines. I think it varies market to market. And, the real question is, how viable are those tools, predictive tools, versus public opinion polls? And we really don't know yet. I don't have enough experience to be able to compare them election to election. But I suspect anytime you see a candidate that looks at numbers that look good for them, well, they're going to tout them. So obviously, because, they're just trying to build on momentum for themselves. Of
course.
But I from what I've seen in the past, they tend to have a wider and wilder swings in terms of, up and down for different questions and different candidates versus what you would see in polls, and much more so than what you would see in, say, like realclearpolitics.com, where they average polls. So you tend to avoid the wild swings or, the 1 or 2 polls that might be off in one direction or another. The trend lines, as they call it, which over time, to me, seems to be more accurate. It remains to be seen, how accurate these tools will be. And, we'll have something to compare come primary day and see who called it and who didn't.
Yep. Well, it's interesting. I saw where over $12 million had been bet in the Texas Republican primary for U.S. Senate. So, wow. I mean, that's a lot of money for sure.
That's a lot of money. And, some other folks have speculated, though, that people are gaming it. In other words, they'll put like big bets down for one candidate, so to speak, to try to make it look like that candidate's getting a lot of support.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more, prone to be, misused. Maybe we'll see.
Yep. Well, and the article cited that in the Ram Reddy's case that a wealthy individual had dumped some money into Ram Reddy, or betting on Ram Reddy the day that he announced his candidacy. So we will see. Got to keep politics interesting. So and that certainly does. Drew McKissick, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party, is always a pleasure. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, sir. You have a great one now.
You too. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.